We got Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett. Now, breaking these two guys down and breaking this fight down, it's really not that complicated of a breakdown. We know with Justin Gaethje, he's the better striker. He's been able to hang against a much higher level of competition, and he's been able to shine for years and years and years against the best guys on the planet. Whereas with Paddy Pimblett, he doesn't have that experience. He's definitely not a great striker, but he has that grappling. He has that grappling background that he can rely on in this fight, and he'll be the more dangerous submission grappler in this spot. So it kind of comes down to who can have their way in this spot. Justin Gaethje, he's fought the best guys on planet Earth. I mean, we can go through these guys' recent fights. He's fighting guys like Khabib Nurmagomedov in his prime, 2020, Charles Oliveira, 2022. He's fighting some of the best guys on planet Earth in their physical primes. Even the Holloway fight. Holloway, although maybe not in his absolute prime at this point, he's still looking career best. I mean, he's kicking ass, looking really good. Other than the Ilya fight, he's been looking amazing. So it goes to show Justin Gaethje is definitely fighting the higher level of competition, and he's fighting these guys in their primes. That's what's important. When you break a guy like Paddy Pimblett down, sure, on paper, you can see names like Bobby Green, not the same. Maybe like a Tony Ferguson and be like, oh, that's a really high level, name value win, but it's not. Tony Ferguson, 2023, not the same as a Khabib in 2020, I'll tell you that much. So when you're breaking these two guys down in terms of their recent fights, we're going to have clips playing throughout this video as I talk about different fights in this, but I guess we can start with either guy. Now, with Paddy Pimblett, we know, like I said, his striking is not going to be on the level of a Justin Gaethje. We really saw that in that Jared Gordon fight. He was eating bombs. People said he should have lost that fight, and I agree. It goes to show he did not look good in that spot, and Jared Gordon is a good, underrated fighter who's slept on, but he's not at the level of a Justin Gaethje, and I think he lost. Paddy Pimblett should have lost in that spot against Jared Gordon. He was eating bombs. I'm going to have some clips playing of that one. After that, Tony Ferguson fought to absolutely wash Tony Ferguson. Doesn't mean a whole lot. Bobby Green, the striking was decent on the feet. Bobby Green actually outstruck Paddy Pimblett in that spot, though. If you go break down the numbers on that one, Bobby Green outstruck Paddy Pimblett before he shot himself into a submission. It was the weirdest thing ever. But if you look at the numbers, he outstruck him there. And then Michael Chandler, Michael Chandler at this point, he's older. He's really past his prime, not the highest level of wins. And it really, yes, he was landing some good strikes against Michael Chandler. Obviously, he got a knockout eventually in that spot, but it was through the grappling. It was a ground and pound knockout. It wasn't like he just starched him on the feet. And Michael Chandler hit Paddy Pimblett with some bombs. I'm going to have some clips playing throughout this video. Like I said, of Paddy Pimblett, he is not the best on the feet. His striking's not great. It's very stiff. And that fight against Michael Chandler, he's smashing these damn uppercuts and looping these huge hooks like he's smashing an Xbox controller. It is not clean striking. And against a guy like Justin Gaethje, we know that is going to be a major problem. Justin Gaethje is not playing around on the feet. And Paddy Pimblett, he's going to be struggling here. But if we look at Justin Gaethje's recent fights, the thing that worries me about him is that even though he's the better, more technical striker in this fight, he's getting older. At 37 years old, he's been wearing damage, and it's really started to add up in recent years. Now, some of the fights that really stand out to me in terms of this is one, his fight against Charles Oliveira. We saw, yes, he gets submitted in that spot, but he gets hit bad. He gets knocked down really badly, dropped right on his ass. I mean, it was a big shot. He gets knocked down bad. Charles Oliveira submits him shortly after.
Landing the right hand.
Not a good look. And after that, Rafael Fiziev, Dustin Poirier, those are short fight. But the Max Holloway fight, that one is a really bad look. Now, it's not for what you might think. Yes, we've all seen the knockout. Yes, it's probably a top 5 knockout of all time.
Big connection late.
But the worst thing about that, in my eyes, was he gets his nose shattered in the very first round. Towards the very first round, or the end of the very first round. There's like a couple seconds left. Max Holloway hits some spinning kick, hits Justin Gaethje right on the nose. Boom, breaks his nose. He's cooked. If you guys didn't know that, you got to go watch that back. You can see it. Because you can see afterwards, Justin Gaethje, he's like adjusting his nose. He proceeds to go and fight another 4 full rounds against Max Holloway with a broken nose. One, that shows how tough Justin Gaethje is. But two, that's not a good sign. We've seen with Justin Gaethje, he's had multiple nose injuries in the past. He's had to have multiple surgeries on his nose. It's been a recurring issue that only seems to get worse and worse and worse as time progresses. So that worries me in this spot. Now, like I said, he broke his nose early on in that fight, and he was able to hang for a long time. But when he got put out by Max Holloway, that was a bad look. He got put out cold, face front, on the canvas. You all have seen the clip. It was not a good look, so that worries me about the chin of Justin Gaethje. Because like I said, Justin Gaethje is going to be the better, more technical, accurate striker in this spot. But chin for chin at 37 years old, throughout all of the damages and the wars that he's gone through, is a concern. Like I said, obviously, Paddy Pimblett is the inferior striker in the spot. But if you look at their stats, knockdown ratio here, 7-3 for Justin Gaethje and 2-0 for Paddy Pimblett. We know that Paddy Pimblett is always toting that Scouser chin, and although you can't really rely on your chin, especially when you're fighting a guy like Justin Gaethje, if anyone has the better durability at this point in their careers, I gotta lean with Paddy Pimblett ever so slightly. I mean, I know we haven't seen him tested in terms of guys really testing the chin of Paddy Pimblett, but we have seen Justin Gaethje's chin really start to get worse the longer his career is going on. Not dramatically so, but we just naturally, that's how it goes. The more damage you occur over time, the worse and worse it's going to get. And at 37 years old, obviously he's been through a ton of wars. So in terms of the striking, we know Justin Gaethje is going to be better, but I do worry about the chin. I worry about the damage. But with Paddy Pimblett, we haven't seen him face that level of adversity yet. Like I said, he's fighting guys like a washed Tony Ferguson, an older Michael Chandler, an older Bobby Green. It's not the same guys that Justin Gaethje is fighting on a fight-to-fight basis. So in terms of the striking, that's pretty much sums it up. Justin Gaethje is the better striker, but I do worry about the durability, whereas Paddy Pimblett, he does have durability plus going for him in the spot. But in terms of the grappling, Paddy Pimblett, we know, is going to be the more dangerous submission artist. The thing that worries me about Paddy Pimblett in the spot, or more so I'm worried for him, is that he doesn't have that wrestling background to take it to the ground to really be dangerous. He doesn't have that D1 All-American wrestling background. He doesn't have that. He's just a scouser who's good on the ground, and he's good on the ground. He's a very dangerous guy on the mats, but he doesn't have that chain wrestling ability to land takedowns at will. You look at his stats, you can see 28% takedown accuracy against a much lower level of competition, whereas Justin Gaethje has a 68% takedown defense against the best guys on planet Earth. So it goes to show Paddy Pimblett, yes, he's dangerous on the ground, but I don't know if he's going to be able to really take it to the ground all that easily in this spot. I think Paddy Pimblett honestly would have a better chance of hurting Justin Gaethje and taking it to the ground as opposed to him just going in blindly and shooting some crazy takedowns at will. So in terms of how this fight plays out overall, it is going to be very interesting. I really do think Paddy Pimblett has major holes in his striking that will be exposed in this fight in terms of just his technical ability. Guys like Jared Gordon was piecing him up. We saw Michael Chandler landing some bombs on him. Hell, Tony Ferguson was even landing some bombs on him. Guys have been able to really exploit that hole in his game. But on the other hand, we know he's going to have that grappling advantage over Justin Gaethje. So will he be able to take it to the ground? Possibly, and if he does, he probably will be able to rack up a lot of control time against Justin Gaethje, wear him down. And we have 5 rounds to work for both guys, so the cardio could be a concern. That's the one thing I want to talk about too. The last thing I will say, in terms of the cardio, there have been concerns for Paddy Pimblett. Now, the Tony Ferguson fight, he was absolutely death gassed after 3 rounds, and that I was watching that back, and I was like, oh my God, that's a huge concern. Justin Gaethje, we've seen him go 5 full rounds with a broken nose. I mean, we know he's not going to stop, so when I saw that fight against Tony Ferguson, I was like, oh shit, Paddy might be in real trouble. But if you watch his fight against Michael Chandler, yes, it doesn't go super long, but it goes into the 3rd round. He's landing a ton of volume with the ground and pound shots. He doesn't seem to really slow down all that much at all. So I really think Paddy Pimblett has improved quite a bit with his cardio, especially going into a 5-round fight like this. He's going to have to improve it quite a bit, and I think it's going to show off. I'm not too worried about his cardio going into this. We know Justin Gaethje will be fine. So I really think it's going to come down to durability. I don't see this fight likely going the distance. I think it's going to be able to see, we're going to have to see who's going to be able to hold up better. And it's going to be a tricky situation to see. So on one hand, in terms of the betting odds, as you can see, Justin Gaethje, a big underdog. I don't know if it's quite worth taking a big stab on Justin Gaethje at 37 years old. He's already talked about the R word, retiring, not the other one. He's talking about retiring. He said, if I lose this fight, I'm done. That doesn't give me a good feeling in the back of my mind. But on the other hand, Paddy Pimblett hasn't proven anything against a high level of competition to warrant this type of a line over Justin Gaethje, because he's 37. He's not 85. I mean, he's still very competent. He's still extremely dangerous. So my heart is saying Justin Gaethje, but my mind is just saying, damn, if Paddy Pimblett has amazing durability and Justin Gaethje can't knock him out, I could see just one takedown could be the end of this fight. I could see it going that way. So it's a very tough one to call for now. I guess maybe we can say for now I could lean Justin Gaethje, maybe ever so slightly. But my heart is saying Paddy Pimblett, or my mind's saying Paddy Pimblett. So it's kind of where I'm thinking. I just don't think this line should be that wide. I think the line's completely shot. The last thing I'll say about this too, you know who the UFC wants to win. If for whatever reason, if somehow this fight goes a full 5 rounds and it goes to the scorecards and it's remotely close, I would be mind blown if Justin Gaethje gets his hand raised. He has been like a thorn in the side of the UFC for the last year or so, saying, basically throwing a temper tantrum, saying, I'm going to retire if I don't get this title shot. And he says, if I lose, I'm going to retire too. So the UFC really doesn't see any value left in Justin Gaethje in terms of the old dollars. And with Paddy Pimblett, he has that side story, like a storyline arc of a superhero movie with Ilya Topuria. They hate each other, so the beef is there. I mean, if Paddy Pimblett wins here, it'll be the best marketing, the most easiest marketing they've ever had in their entire lives. So I totally get they want Paddy Pimblett to win in the spot. 31 years old. They got a whole career with Paddy Pimblett. Trust me, the writing's on the wall for this one. But it's not going to determine who wins a fight or not. But it's just one little cherry on top of, you know who the UFC wants to win. And it's extremely evident. Kind of like a Poatan versus Big Ank. You know who they want to win. You know who they don't. Maybe that affects it. Maybe it doesn't. It's just not something I like to go against all the time. But anyway, in terms of this one, I don't know. I feel like Paddy probably gets his hand raised, but I think the line should be a lot closer. So in terms of the pick, maybe I'm not even going to say one. We'll go Justin Gaethje ever so slightly. But anyway, that does it for this one. Paddy Pimblett's probably going to be the final pick.